What? It's showtime at the Make a Right Left. Oh, no, what is this? This is the Right Mindset. I'm sorry. MakeARightLeftHere.com is the website you can go to check me out. But it is Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means we are going to be doing a Write a Book with Me from concept to conception. Oh, I got to catch my breath. I was running. Every Saturday, Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do what? We do a live video where we either educate on Saturday, sometimes business, but usually craft and writing. Live video where we... And then today is all about writing a book in real time. I'm excited. If you're excited, sorry I'm a little late. I was adjusting some things. All right, let's get into it. As you can see, there is indeed a... Oh, wait, today is the episode 28. We're on episode 28. That means 28 hours are, by the end of this, there'll be 28 hours that have passed since we started writing this book. So it's all a process. The poll says, what helps your writing flow? Remember, if you fill out the poll at the end of the hour, we will discuss the poll. There are 4 options. Feel free to rig 'em, rag 'em, jig 'em, jag 'em, and pick what you got. All right, so boom. I'm going to try to do an adjusted screen, see if this... I'm trying a new format a little bit on the screen to see if you can see what you can see. Hello, flowers. Welcome to the show. Oh, yes. A big shout out to... Hi, Captain. Are you ready? All right. Big shout out to M. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And Flowers are fantastic human beings, but a huge much love to you for joining up and celebrating and supporting the channel. I will be starting to put some stuff on members only board for YouTube, some educational things that only you and Flowers can see. So if you want to see more information that's a little bit more deeper education on certain specific things, it will be popping up on the board. So thank you again. Truly much love to that. Welcome, new member. And of course, hey, what's up, bro? Hey, Thomas and Room, working on car brakes, be listening, but not watching. That's fine. You focus on that. Fixing the brakes are important. You need brakes, I hear. All right, so let's get into it. As always, I like to sort of catch people up who haven't been watching the series and they're just jumping on. Cool beans, you're welcome. No, seriously, if it ever seems like I'm just like, thanks, and moving on, I assure you, it is not the case. I am greatly, much loved, much appreciated. So to anyone who's just jumping in, what we do here is we have been writing a book from concept to conception. We've went through the first 4 stages already. We brainstormed the story ideas over a couple episodes. We wrote out character arcs, which is very important. This is my writing process. It's just one way of a million, thousand, hundreds of another way. We did the short form outlining, which is something I practice often. I recommend every writer does that. It's just a quick line or 2 to 3 sentence summary of each plot point. It really helps you start understanding the flow of narrative. Then we went through all 27 plot points and 27 chapter ideas, and we extended the outline. We are officially been doing the zero draft. Today we are working on chapter 9, which is technically the last chapter of Act 1, which means when we finish today, hopefully we'll be done with chapter 9, which means we'll be moving into Act 2. We are really, in all honesty, flying through this process, and that's getting me... Really. So we are on 9. What we got here? We got Yoro. Thank you, Petal. The breaks are important. All right. So again, if you have any questions about what I'm doing, how I'm working through this, feel free to ask in real time. If you have questions that have nothing to do with what I am doing, but it has to do with writing, really, honestly, ask. It's not going to mess me up. I actually implore you to ask questions. I enjoy doing asides and jumping on that. Sometimes I do real-time examples for the questions if they deem so. But more importantly, we're here to have fun together. Let's get into it. All right. And if you behave, maybe there will be a picture of Man of War. If you behave today, we might get a picture of Man of War up. All right. All right, let's see. So what I like to do is I like to set up the for again, if anyone's just joining, so you know what's on the screen. This is what the extended draft outline looks like. So I took major plot points and I just did a beginning, a middle, and an end ultimately. And now we're going to pop them upstairs and we're going to basically try to expand on them. So I'm going to just move them up here real quick and then work on it from there. Let's see if these are one big chapter or if the chapter is broken up into smaller soft chapter breaks or hard chapter breaks. So Laura is running because chapter 8, we just had the authorities chasing her. Laura is running through the city as the authorities chase after her. They're growing in numbers as she tries to make her way through the unfamiliar streets and back alleys of the city. So right off the bat, I know this is going to be an action-packed chapter, which means, you know, it might be quick. Laura realizes there are too many of them and hides in a factory building. Well, the buildings, some of the people there. Okay, I think that's still, we can continue that. And Laura's arrested. All right, so I don't see any chapter breaks, hard chapter or soft chapter breaks. This will be one complete thing. Hey, Hannah, not sure if you got my email. I did, Hannah, I definitely did. A couple of things, though. I tried to email you back with the email that you associated with what you sent me, and it said that your email doesn't work. I couldn't email you. The reason is because the chapter you sent me actually breaks off. It doesn't complete. I don't get the complete chapter in the email. So if you could just email me again, but make sure you have the proper spelling of your email in there. That'll really help me. You don't have to put your chapter into the contact thing. What I'll do is I'll email you back. And then when I email you back, then you could just send the chapter through the email that way. The contact sheet is just for an introduction email. That's all I would use that for. But I did get an email from you, but that's the issue. I can't respond back to you because the email's not working, and also the chapter wasn't complete. Hey, Cindy! All right, we're getting into it. Laura is running around. So... Again, when we're working on the zero draft, I don't really like going into super specific things, but we do know that she's running around. I feel like these are two separate beats. Boom, boom. Laura is running through the city as the authorities chase after her. So for this particular thing, I'm just going to, it's all about generalizing, okay? Because for the zero draft, we're not writing prose, we are just writing out ideas. And in this case, I just want to sort of jot down some ideas of what it might look like running through the city. Moving through the streets, running through crowds, right? Your traditional stuff. And jumping over vehicles. Of course, we got to spell that correctly. And let's have her run. Oh, well, and Laura ends up running through a store and out the back. All right, so that's the first big beat, right? So the way I would do this if I was writing the book, this would be the first beat, right? This would be the second beat running through. Then I want to have a beat where she's jumping over vehicles. And then the final beat before we get to the next big thing is Laura ends up running through. During this whole process, I'm going to bring this back up here for a reason. This is now going to be a note. And the reason it's going to be a note for me is because I want this to consistently be building through each particular beat of the run through. All right. So this is the general idea of the scene that I'll be creating, which is Laura is running through the city as authorities chase after her. So she moves through. I might even write a note here. The original number of authorities. Okay. And then what I would do is I would say number grows more. Okay. And but what number? We should be specific with the information, but not necessarily specific where, like, you know, what kind of authorities. But I want to know that it's authorities, so I don't have to think about it when I look at my notes. And then, of course, we'll get one more big one. Okay. So that's also going to increase the stakes and the urgency one beat at a time. So as we see her running through the streets, I would describe the traditional number that started in the last chapter. As she's running through crowds, we notice more authorities. She's noticing more. There's some coming from other corners of streets, so she has to change her direction, right? So now that I'm talking through that, let's do that. She sees them coming out of corners and other streets, forcing her to change a direction. Okay, so I'm trying to add you to my contact list. What is your email address again? So the best way to get at me is to go to that contact sheet that's on my website, which is makearightlefthear.com. And the reason I do that is because the email I have, I don't want to start getting spam from it. I had an email up on my website, and now I get stuff that is like, hey, did you know that we can help your business? And I've never signed up for these things, and it's a headache. So all you got to do is just be like, you email me on that and be like, hey, Thomas, this is Hannah Hart. Here's my email. All right. And then that's it. Just send that. And then what I'll do is I will respond to you with my email, and you will have it that way. So you'll have it privately. So that's just as an aside. All right. Let's do this. Okay. So she's running through crowds. Let's get a little bit more action. People we should just say people push her. One stops her and gets mad. Has to hurt them to get away as the authorities get closer. So that creates tension. So if somebody grabs her and she's being held, that creates what we call starting the clock. So Alfred Hitchcock was known for showing the audience the clock, creating dramatic irony. All right. And the audience knows they have 3 minutes before the bomb goes off. So anytime you create a time-warranted situation, that is basically how tension works. That's one of the easy ways to create tension. In this situation, you're saying, but Tom, there's no bomb, there's no clock. But if she's being held by someone and the authorities are coming after her, there is a time frame between when the authorities get to her and or if she breaks away. So that creates the tension. Hey, Chad, how is it? Hey, Angel, how are you doing? Sending much love. Hoping all is well on your end. And I'm glad to see you on. Very nice to have you back. And we're always thinking about you. All right. So let's see. So this is nice because we got to run around and we're showing that it is building and everything else. This one we create a nice little beat where it creates a little bit of restriction. So that's always nice. All is amazing. It's amazing when I'm running. Oh, I forgot the lyrics. Son of a. I was going to sing some Aerosmith. All right. Jumping over vehicles. Now this is where we can get a little fun. She trips, hurting herself, and has to run through the pain. Okay, so that's nice. Ooh, what we got? I had a sale today and maybe temporary website for a book club. Ooh, that's really awesome. All right, nicey. If you want, you can put your website address in the comments section. Feel free to put your address in the comments section. We're always here to support the supporters and the community that we have. Thomas, it's been a while since I last joined Life, etc. And we always miss you when you're not here. So we are now creating chapters and outlining those. The last time I was here, you were still in the 2020. Yeah, so I'm doing what's known as the zero draft. And the zero draft is where we take the extended outline, we place it in, and we start beating out or creating a rhythm to the chapters. The purpose of this is twofold. One, we want to see what happens in the chapter in a little bit more detail than last time. Remember, we start with general broad ideas, and then we add more and more specific ideas to them without getting too specific. The second part is we learn the rhythm of the chapter, which helps us decide Is this chapter too long? Should it be broken up into more than one chapter? Should we actually add soft chapter breaks, hard chapter breaks, things like that? So the zero draft just helps us expand things and helps us with pace and everything. So that's where we are right now. And specifically, we are on chapter 9. We are on chapter 9. So we are on technically the last chapter of Act 1. Okay. Emma, I saw the interview and bought your books. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Emma! Is Emma here today? Is Emma? I know Emma's here. Well, Emma's definitely here. Emma might be here. She might be hiding. She might be cooking. And then she's going to tease us with the food, the amazing food she has. All right, let's see. Laura ends up running. So we don't have to write ends up, but Laura, you could just do this. Not that it matters, because, again, these are not prose. We don't care about grammar. We don't care about spelling, really. But sometimes, it's good to just train your brain to get away from she starts or they begin to or, she does, right? Because you just want it to be straightforward. And that just helps with active voice, but it's just a habit and exercise kind of thing. So Laura, obviously this is present tense. But this would be past tense. Again, it doesn't matter if you're writing present or future tense or past tense when you're doing the zero draft. You're just trying to get the information out to help you with the rhythm and beat. The link is on. I don't see the linkage. Well, just know you can put the link there. Let's see. Go Let's see. Oh, here we go. Boop. Oh. www. Laura, not Laura. Angel, it's saying. Oh, that's why. That's on me. That's on me. Angel, it's saying your website can't be reached. I just went to your YouTube. It's saying as an issue there. Just so you know, just as a heads up. But I am subscribed to you. I'll just put you right here. Boop. Play with that later. Go through that later. All right. Boop. I'll add you to the list too. Also, once your link is there. All right. Let's keep going. So Laura ran through a store and out the back. Okay. All right. In the building. Just sent you another email. Hopefully it worked this time. Yeah, I'll check it a little bit later, Hannah. It is working. All right. Uno momento. Angel. Weird. I don't know. Maybe. I'll see. It's probably on my end. Oh, that's right. You're from. And please correct me if I'm wrong. You're not from the States, right? So there might be something stopping my browser from seeing it. So that's why it keeps shutting off on my end. So that might be an issue on my end. I will have to check that. Maybe there's something. I'll deal with it later because I do have like security locks on my my computer for certain things. All right, Laura slides down. Okay. Now, Laura looks up at the people at the authorities. Sliding down side. She gets up and runs into the factory district. Got it. Yeah, you know how technology is. Sometimes wookie. All right, so as we can see, this opening, we set it up. This is the opening, really, all the way to here. So we set up her getting away, and we're leading to the main conflict of the chapter, which is she's going to be in the factory hiding. Okay? How do we do it then? Let's see. 188. That's not bad. I will say this much. This is technically a scene. All this is one scene. We were talking about that yesterday. If you had a chance to watch me break down the George R.R. Martin Chapter 1 of Game of Thrones, this would be considered a scene, but it doesn't create a hard chapter break or a soft chapter break. However, writing it now, I can say to myself, you know what? We can give it a soft chapter break. And the reason is because she runs into the factory district. So then what we could do is we could jump a soft chapter break into the factory of her sneaking into the factory. And that creates, we get rid of her running to the factory, right? So we're just, she sees it, she takes note, the transition would be that we show a building that she's running towards, and she takes off running. And that creates, and you could even do this, right? She spots a large factory building and runs toward it, right? So that's a note for myself. So that creates that. So let's see. That's going to be 197. So let's get into this. All right. 197. All right. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create another thingy. Boop. Okay. This is Laura runs from the authorities, and Laura hides in a factory. All right. All right. We don't have a count for that yet, so we're not gonna. All right. Laura realizes there are too many of them. Okay. So this part is a note, and not necessarily something we have to, because that's going to be shown. You know, that's something to be very aware of when you're writing. Remember, sometimes, you know, your notes are like there to tell you personally, like, hey, I could show this. Clearly, there are too many. She's making the choice, having agency, to go into the factory. So we don't have to go. We do not have to write, oh my God, there are far too many. I should hide in this factory to be safe. Like, you don't always have to do that. You can just show things happening, and it should, if the context is clear, infer that she's making an active choice based on X, Y, Z. All right, well, in the building, some of the people that were cruel to her earlier are in the building working their jobs. Okay. This should be connected to those who wouldn't hire her. Okay. Whoops. However, the person she had been working on the ship for could be here, and that creates a direct emotional response. So that's me just taking a note for myself that I might, instead of making it that it's just the people that, like, because if she was looking for a job, she might not look for a job in a factory building. She might have looked like she did, you know, smaller, inconspicuous jobs. So I think I'm just giving that note because I might go either way. But if it's this character that we had in chapter 7, it might make a little bit more sense because now we have what's known as payoff, right? So whenever you could kind of backtrack and connect things and say, oh, wait, we set that up already. So why don't we pay that off, right? So things aren't just happening. Now it didn't just happen, even though in a sense it caused stress for her because, she's like, people are going to notice me. Like it was, but now we have given it a little bit more agency in the sense of like, she made a choice to work at this place. The boss made a choice, agency, to hire. It was a conflict with people saying, hey, you shouldn't be hiring those people, right? It helped challenge the positions and build the character. But now that person who felt like, hey, this person's ruining my ship, is directly connected to the potential for her to be caught and captured. So it's always nice. And that's the thing. When you're working on your outline, it's okay to adjust and change things because great writing is rewriting. So as you're developing it, what you may have had in your head originally, sometimes as you're working on it, the previous stuff you built makes more sense as you're building forward. And then you go, wait a minute, I could connect this, or maybe I could adjust it a little bit. And we've done that a couple times. Not only have we expanded chapters into 2 chapters, but we added elements or changed elements and whatever the case is. What I'm trying to show you as a writer is that you're not beholden to the outline. The outline is beholden to you. You are the sculptor. You get to chisel things away. It's not the other way around, in this case, you do have unlimited stone, though. You could do what in fact, I could be like, you know what? I don't like any of this. And just be like, we're not going to have her running away from the authorities. We're just going to have her fight the authorities. Like, you can change anything you want because at the end of the day, ultimately she has to get arrested. So what happens between the authorities seeing her and her getting arrested? We can make anything up we want, We could even have the boss turn her in. I don't know why, though. That narratively, that wouldn't make any sense. But I'm just saying it's okay to think like that. Uno momento. My friend heard him, so. Sorry. Oh, and Hannah Hart, I did get the email. It went through on my phone. So I'll be reading that a little bit later for you. All right. Thank God you said that because sometimes for me, once it's written, it is done. Cindy, you're not the only one. There are a lot of people, a lot of writers, especially I deal with clients, and I shouldn't say deal. I work with clients, and that is a very common thing. They're like, yeah, but my story is supposed to go this way. And you go, well, the story can do whatever you want. The plot might be something that is quote unquote rigid, but the way you mold it, you can do whatever you want because that's the story part of the narrative. Because we break narrative down into plot and story. Plot is what needs to happen no matter what. Story is how it unfolds through the emotional experiences and choices of your characters. But at the end of the day, you're the writer. You get to do whatever you want. Nobody is standing behind you. Go, well, you did write the word contagion. You can't change it. You must stick to contagion. I used to think that all the time. I still have days sometimes where I'm like, but I want to make... There's a character that I have that I put into my novel for the epic fantasy where it's a tribute to one of my really close friends, someone who's basically like a brother to me. And long story short, there's an inside joke between him and I, because his last name's Hunt. So I was like, does that mean like your family were hunters? And I was like, it'd be really funny if your family actually comes from like a long lineage of cobblers. And, but like people were making fun of them. So they were just like, you know what? We're hunters. We're just call it, we kill animals and hunt animals. Like they just chose to change their career. Right. And so I have a character named the Cobbler, which is who ends up having a child, and he names the child after my friend, loosely based after my friend. And the friend actually becomes like a bounty hunter in the narrative, like the long form narrative, like in the world, not necessarily the main narrative. So it's just funny because Cobbler, but the Cobbler's like a really excellent tracker and hunter too. So it is something that's in their family, but their family makes a living on cobblers, being shoemakers. And I really wanted this character in the full book. I was like, oh man, I just love this character too. Like it ended up being a really interesting character. But every time I tried to quote unquote manipulate it into moving forward, it just didn't work. And sometimes you got to listen to the narrative. You got to listen to how the plot's playing out. And sometimes what we want doesn't necessarily work out. So even though in my head I had mapped out an outline that included this character, it wasn't making sense. It wasn't being earned. It felt really contrived and like as if I was just slipping the character in because I wanted him there. And that's a really hard part about being a writer sometimes. It's like, oh, I envisioned these things happening and these characters being there, but at the end of the day, we learn these tools and skills to help us realize what is working and what isn't working. And even though the characters in the story, and they're definitely in book 2, their involvement definitely stops at book 2 in a sense, but doesn't mean they can't come back later on in another book or in another series of their own. But the point is, for the main narrative to maintain that value and movement, I had this sideline. I had to be like, all right, you can't go any further. So I get it. Boop, boop, boop. When is your book Breaking Down Success going to be an ebook? It is already in ebook. You can 100% get the book. This book is available in ebook. You just go to Amazon. You could actually go to makearightleftheere.com and you could click. It's the first header you'll see when you go to it, makearightleftheere.com. And there'll be an option for hardcover, ebook, and paperback. Also, if you have, what am I talking about? If you have the Kindle Unlimited, it's free for you, I think, for the next couple days. All right. My characters threw me a curveball and someone showed up earlier than planned. Rethink in progress. I think that's a great problem to have, by the way. When you're able to accept the changes in a way where you're like, I have to think about this. I have to put some time into it. Because our job is to break the narrative. Our job, because if we can't break it, how can we make sense of it, right? We have to be able to break it and be like, well, what is the logical movement of this character and their behavior? What is the logical outcome? What is the cause and effect? And all these things help you really develop the strength of a book. As a developmental editor, my literal job is to come in and break your narrative. I'm looking for logical disconnects. I'm trying to use deductive reasoning to make sense of what's happening. Are characters being honest to their behaviors? Are things cause and effect? Or are they just happening because we need them to happening? Are things happening and they're not reacting to them emotionally? They're just like, oh, okay, well, character A died, so we got to keep moving on, right? So you as a writer should be asking yourself questions. And I recommend asking yourself as many questions as you possibly can, especially when it comes to your outline. And if a character says, hey, listen, I want to be in the story now. Well, you're doing the right thing, Cindy, to sit there and play with that and think about it. It is available in E. All right. I appreciate you even thinking about the book. Much love to that. Yeah. We're doing really well with sales, by the way. I'm blown away and especially delighted at we're not even 2 weeks in? 3 weeks? 3 weeks maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. We're doing good. All right, where are we? Okay. The person who, I think I'm going to lean into that. The person who doesn't like Laura ends up pushing stuff over, tripping Laura and causing her to hit her face on something, knocking her into a daze. Laura Olivia is arrested and brought to prison. All right, so for us to get to this part, let me see something. Oh, okay, so chapter 10 will be her being brought to the prison. So we just have to have Laura Olivia is arrested. Now remember, I usually say don't delete stuff, and the reason I could delete it on this is because it's a separate file. I have the original file. I will not delete stuff on the original file. The most I'll do is this. I'll end up like, if I was on that other file, it would look like this. I would just do that. The reason is because you never know, something might come back or something might make sense later as you're working on the book, and then be like, oh wait, and then you go back, you're like, oh, it was kind of over there. There's things sometimes, like when I'm hanging out and I'm just thinking about my story just in general, not this one particular, but like the epic fantasy stuff, and I'll be like, oh, you know, it'd be interesting if these things happen, and then I'll go back and my notes have that they were like asides that I had written, and it's just because I was working on the narrative or the outline that like those things that I didn't think would work when I first wrote them ended up fitting in. So that's always nice to see, and that's why you don't want to delete stuff. You always want to keep a file accessible to them. All right, look at this. We did it. Just did chapter 9. Was it 118? Look at that. Boom. We are officially in Act 2, Chapter 10. Boom. Here we go. What do you think? What do you think? We are in Chapter 10. Is anyone excited as I am to be in the next act? Sorry. Poor guy. Oh, my poor friend. I wish I could help everybody. All right, let's keep going. I'm sorry about that. All right, so, by the way, in the comments section, do you have any questions about what you remember about what I was doing, how Act 1 ended? Are you understanding how the old ordinary world is basically stopping and we are moving into what we call the new world? Because remember, when you're looking at, when you're looking at plot point 10, this is considered the new world. So we have to introduce, because section 4 controls plot point 10, 11, and 12. Section 4 of Act 2 is called The Protagonist Explores the New World, and it's the ascending rise to the conflict, right? So plot point 10 is where we introduce the protagonist to the actual new world. So this is where we get to play in the new world. It's not too chaotic. It can be chaotic, but ultimately, remember, every beginning needs to set up context. So if it's a beginning of an act, or let's put it this way, Act 1 sets up the context for the full narrative, okay? But each first section in an act, in this case, Section 1 for Act 1, Section 4 for Act 2, and Section 4, 5, 6, 7 in Act 3, all set up the act itself. So Section 1 sets up the entire purpose of Act 1, and obviously challenges it in Section 2, and then resolves it in Section 3. So in this case, when we're in Act 2, we need to set up Act 2 with Section 4. We will challenge what we set up in Section 5, and then we will resolve it in Section 6 and push the narrative into Act 3. This also goes for each of the plot points that start off your section. So Chapter 10, or plot point 10 in this case, must set up what Section 4 is about so we can challenge it in plot point 11 and plot point 12. What does that mean? I'm going to say something that's going to sound contradictory. You have to, at the same time, raise the stakes from the previous section and the previous act. In this case, we just ended Section 3. We're moving into Section 4. So the stakes have to be raised, but we're also moving from Act 1 to Act 2. So the stakes have to be raised for that. But at the same time, we need to slow things down so we can make sense of stuff. We could add context. So that sounds like a contradiction. Well, Thomas, how do you slow things down? How do you raise the stakes and the urgency if you have to slow it down? Well, all it means is that the stakes are here. Here's an example of like a low stake. This is a pacing issue. Here's low stakes to very high stakes in like 2 beats. Okay, so a character starts off, and the best way to do it is they're driving to work. Okay, and the first stake we create is they're actually running late. So we have started the timer. So tension and stakes are there. They're going to be late to work. So the next thing that happens is they get into a car accident and are put into a coma. That pacing is way outside. We just jumped the gun. It's too aggressive, right? But what you can do is they can get into a car accident and the car is broke and now they have to call a taxi, right? So now we raise the stakes. The stakes have been raised, but we can slow it down now. We can say, all right. They're waiting for a taxi. They're dealing with the car, everything. But the stakes have been raised because now they're going to be later, right? There's another problem involved. If you're going from, let's say, Act 1 to Act 2, and in this situation, what's happening is the stakes were raised from her not being found to her being found, and she gets arrested. So why are the stakes raised in Act 2 and this section? Because she's in prison. She has now lost her freedom. She's lost her ability to get away. All these. So the stakes have been risen. She's in an environment she's never been in before. So even though we're going to slow it down and sort of introduce her and the audience to this prison, the stakes are at another level because she's lost freedom and stuff like that. If you are doing dual POV, would all of this be done for each POV? That's a really great question. Let me answer that. Angel, have a great time. Be good. Be safe. Much love to you. I will be. I'm going to try to get one of your links onto the list of. I think I might actually already be on there. But anyway, much love to you. So going back to this, if you are doing dual POV, would all of this be done for each POV? The answer is yes. But there are different rules for it. The main narrative, which is usually the main character arc, but not always, but usually, because you want the main narrative to go into it. But sometimes you have like 3. Sorry, the cat came up before, so my nose is being itchy from the thing. Sometimes you might have 3 characters dealing with, say, like a world-ending event. So one character is in like Peru, the other one's like in the States, and another one's like in France or whatever. And they're all like sort of doing their own thing. So in that situation, it's actually plot driven. So the main narrative is the world is going to end and these 3 characters are doing whatever their part to save the world in conjunction to whatever, right? So that's an example of maybe the main character arc isn't the main story. But with that aside, you figure out what the main narrative is and you map that out with your 27 plot points. The reason you do that first is because that's going to drive the narrative. And you're going to sit and beat every plot point for the main narrative. So plot point 1 is going to be, at minimum, its own chapter. It could be more than one chapter, but it's going to be its own chapter to sort of breathe in that. And you're going to do that. So at minimum, a main narrative should be 27 chapters. By the way, if you write 3,000 words per chapter, that's 81,000 words. That's a book. You're done. Pretty convenient, huh? However, if you're writing epic fantasy or a crime novel, you know, your first plot point might be 3 or 4 chapters to really build the ordinary world, set up things. Sometimes it might be a little thicker in the first act, and maybe a little bit more speed in Act 3. So maybe Act 3 is a little shorter. You know, so there are things like that when it comes to pacing. But anyway, so if you have dual POVs, work on the main narrative first of whoever the main POV is, because even if you have dual POVs, one of them is the driving force of the narrative. If you look at Game of Thrones, for example, Eddard Stark is technically the main driving narrative because he's the one who gets hired. He gets asked to be the Hand. Spoiler alert, he discovers there was actually a murder. He discovers there's truth about maybe the kids aren't really related to Robert Baratheon. So all these things are happening. But then there's other POVs kind of moving along, right? But there is a main one. Once you're done with the main one, then you start seeding in the secondary characters. And this is the great thing. A secondary character, their first plot point could be like a scene Their second plot point could be another scene. Their third plot point could be their own chapter. You have a lot more leeway with the sub characters, the subplots and everything, only because they're not the driving force. And sometimes, like, there are some points where I'll make a chapter, 3 scenes, and the first scene will be the first plot point, the second scene will be the second plot point, and the third scene will be third plot point. Because characters move differently than the main plot. I hope that helps. I talk about that a lot in a couple of the outlining videos, but I love that question because I know it can be confusing sometimes, but you have to think of the 27 plot point as just the movement of character arcs. There is obviously a main narrative, and that can and will usually be a main character protagonist, but it can just be like the world is ending or something, right? But then seeding everything else just makes it a lot easier. Even if you have 2 or 3 POVs, you have to figure out who's the main one, and then how do I pop the other 2 in there. Boop, 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 boop. All right, let's do this. Where are we? Okay. Oh, this looks pretty full already. All right. Let's do this. We're gonna see if this is one long chapter, if it has hard chapter breaks or soft chapter breaks, and we're gonna see if there's anything else. So Laura is being brought through the prison, is being processed, so they lock her up. All right. All right. Okay. I think this should be a hard chapter break. That'll help with pacing and just get us right to the thing. And then that's... Oh, okay. All right. So, let's put this here. Boop. Then let's do this. For the record, when I do like epic fantasy, I just use these 3 dots for the manuscript, the draft, and then when I get to working on the formatting and everything, I'll change that. Depending on if it's a date change, I'll actually put a date there, so people could see like how the world and time is moving. If there is no date change, I just put like an emblem depending on who the main POV is. I might use like the emblem for that character. So I like to allow that to also be part of the storytelling element instead of it just being 3 dots. Kind of like, Anyway, all right. Now I could actually get rid of hard chapter break. Okay, let's do this. Laura is being brought into the prison and going through the stages of being set up into the cell, being processed. I need to establish that she is waiting as they develop the case. Laura. Okay, so this is all this. As you can see, this is information that needs to be set up. So again, plot point 10 is setting up the new world. So these are elements that I'm not going to just outright say. I got to show these. I got to watch things happening, right? So we definitely need, just so you could see it visually, we need to see her being processed. We need to see that she had nothing to do with it. That there is a gang. She's not part of the gang. These are things we have to set up. So they ask her where they are, and she doesn't know. All right, so those are things. Those are key things we want to establish. And by the way, we don't have to establish those things in complete detail within plot point 10, or in this case, chapter 10. We have to start examining those ideas and seeding them. It is over the course of section 4 that we should have a true understanding of those elements. So that gives us 3 plot points to evolve those things or explore those things and expand those things. But we don't have to have like these huge exposition dumps. We don't have to have a scene dedicated to just being like, this information needs to be explained. Hey, what's up, Rain? Pop it in. We'll keep the live up. We're working. Oh, I appreciate that, man. Much love. Much love. Much love, Rain. That's yeah. Wish I could give you a big hug, you know, consensually, of course. All right, let's do this. So I want to sort of build this up here. These seem like generalized notes, so let's kind of like create what it would look like in chapter form in the scene, right? Okay. All right. Is brought in handcuff in a jumpsuit for prison. Work out the look and style of this. Okay. All right, and then let's see. Pull her out of the vehicle. Transporting vehicle. I don't know why I can't. No matter how many times I try, I can't remember how to spell vehicle. My brain's like, you don't get to spell it. Okay. I toss her against the wall and then sit her down. Okay, so this might be the first chance I get to explore one of the beats. All right. I'm just gonna, instead of going deep into dialogue with Laura, there's nothing to do. They don't believe her because why fly the ship? Just do the right thing and let them kill you so they get caught. Then they make a comment about her being from Planet X. Name that planet. Okay, because remember, these authorities are from the planet that got into a war with the people of her planet several years ago, right? So there's a little pushback, okay? All right. Okay, so we're adding some things. So we're adding logical pushback. The logical pushback is ultimately they're not really listening to it because they don't trust the people from Planet X. They just don't. Okay, and since they're all aliens, everybody's an alien in this sci-fi. Okay, there are no humans. I might even just give her a tentacle that goes out of her nose and she's, just does this so people be like, whatever, it's just, hey, she has a tentacle nose, All right. What else? All right, so I started seeding that. There was a gang, clearly. We got some of that. All right, they pull her back up after getting some paperwork done. And throw, and while walking her to the next area, she claims innocence again. Innocence. I spelled it wrong. Innocence. I spelled it innocent. Yeah, okay. Again. The guards. Oh, asking. She doesn't know. Okay. All right. Now we got to do the next thing, which is we're going to sort of bypass this. So, notice the tension in why not let them kill her, meaning to them she isn't a fear. Yes. There's definitely. They're basically saying, well, you're not really worth anything anyway. You're from that planet that we fought in a war. So, like, you should have did your duty and just let them kill you because then they couldn't have flown away and, the authorities would have got them. So you would have been a hero. You would have been a hero. So there is a lot of, there's a lot of undertone in that. We already know these people, they're like, I don't care about you. It's good stuff. All right. You might be going, Thomas, why don't you have your Pepsi? I'm trying to wean off the Pepsi, but the headaches that I'm getting, not. All right, we're gonna do the hardest part of any prison scene. When I write the book and the prose, I'm probably going to skip over this in detail. Jesus, but I am still going to indicate that it's happening. All right. She is thrown into a shower room, commanded to strip, and they spray her down and muff her with chemicals to kill bugs and lice, etc. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely the no. Yeah, I've been trying to get myself with some electrolytes. I'm trying to get some. I take some Tylenol. I can't take Advil. I have to because I only have one kidney. I have to take the Tylenol, but it's been helping. I've been fighting it. Spray, but like spread. Oh, spray. Did I spell it wrong? Oh, son of a. Spray her down, and I know muffs. I'm using muff like muffer up. I don't know. Okay. I'm going to give myself a note to this. Show the start of the scene, but cut away to the next beat of her being brought to the cell. Mostly because I don't need to see that. All right. I'll be honest though, my epic fantasy books are graphic in the sense of violence and stuff like that, but at the same time, like I don't need to see that. We've seen that so many times in prison films and shows. Hey, how's it going? I'm writing my first book. Been watching these videos as a guidance. Thank you for your work, my friend. Thank you for many reasons. One, watching the series. Thank you for commenting. Know you're always welcome to ask questions about the writing process if you need help with your book. If you've been watching, you know that I'm a developmental editor and writing teacher, and I'm here to basically give some advice. It's free advice, and I'm willing to do what I can to help everybody. But that's awesome that you're writing your first book. Please keep us in the know. And when I say us, I mean the community. We love supporting everybody and their journeys. So just know you're welcome here, and we want to hear how it develops and how you can keep doing it. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm actually going to take this to the next point. I'm just going to put this down here just so I have it. Okay, I don't need this, but I did start these things. And I think I'm going to keep bringing this with me into the next chapters just so I have it as a guideline. But I've already started this. Actually, this one I could take away because then we just did that. But she's not part of the gang. Oh, that we did. There was a gang. She says she had nothing to do with it. That was actually well, Laura is being processed. Oh, okay. Actually, we did all that. Okay. You could take that scene to the cold water of the spray, stun her skin, making her shiver. The water stopped, and the first blow hit. Ooh, cut to the next time. Yeah. That the way my brain is seeing it is that I'm going to set up what is going to happen, so the reader knows. Like, you know, they're definitely going to tell her to strip. They're definitely going to get they're going to spray her. I think the spray is good. You know, but they also have to check her, and you know they have to do all that. And I'm not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that. Hey, we got to check. We got to check for you know, are you bringing stuff in? You know, but yeah. But I think that first blow I think will be a good, because visually as a movie or a television show, that would be what it is, like, you know, and then we cut to so that'd be nice. Appreciate it. I just recently got into fiction. Awesome. Because of a book I read called The Shadow of the Gods. I think I know that book. Shadow of the Gods. Oh, yes. Yeah, those covers are amazing, by the way. I love his book covers. I think he has a couple of them, right? Yeah, The Hunger of the Gods and stuff like that. He has really good covers. Those are fun books. Welcome to fantasy, by the way. I mean fiction. Welcome to fiction. Yeah. All right. Okay, let's do. What are we at? Oh, we're an hour in. Okay. Let's do it. Ended here. I think we did really well. I think I'm gonna... Boop. I'll definitely do the number count. Let's do the number count. 177. Yeah. Blue. By the way, all these sheets are available for you to look at in... so you could check them out. You could do whatever you want with them. Arrives to the prison. Brought to the cell. All right. I have officially forgotten. 177. 177. All right. I do have to do one other thing. Take these broken wings and fly, learn to fly. All right. Real quick. This is going to be 82 for the first scene. And then I'm just doing a number count. 207. 207. All right, that's good. All right. So, here we go. Next time we come on, we'll finish the second scene of chapter 10. I had chapter 11 up here, thinking I would be able to get to it, and chapter 12. So those are all ready for us to jump on and get working. We're still in the zero draft, but we're flying through. I'm really excited. All right, let's get to it. If anyone hasn't done so already, there is a poll in the comment section, so feel free to answer. Pick something what helps your writing flow. We'll kind of explore that and talk about that particular thing. What would you say is the process after getting feedback from beta readers before the book is ready to be published? Well, I'll say this much. If we go back to the sheet, beta readers is down here for number 14, and you still have 6 more steps to go before you get to publishing. But to answer your question, let's answer that in some little depth. So you're saying, what would you say is the process after getting feedback? So what I like to do and what I suggest for people to do is after you get the beta reader feedback, you're going to go through and you're going to create, you're going to see me do it also, by the way. I basically create a note sheet, a note file, and I basically number all the chapters. It just says, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, and maybe the name of the chapter. Then I add the notes. So if beta readers, let's say I had 5 beta readers, I would write each of their names and then their notes directly next to them in bullet points. Once I have all the names organized, then I start going through the entire book and start adjusting and adding any prevalent or pertinent or important or significant changes from the beta reader notes. And so I'll make adjustments. And that becomes my quote-unquote third draft. I'll say this much, though. How do you know if what the beta readers are saying is even worth considering? Majority rules. Majority rules. If enough people, if the majority of your beta readers, if you have, we're going to use 10 for make it simple. If you have 10 beta readers, arbitrarily, and 6 of them say, chapter 3 felt weird, I didn't understand what was going on, and the speed, it just flew by. Most readers aren't going to really know what the word pace means, even if they use the pace. But if they say it just flew by, like I feel like I didn't really sit with them, like something was missing. Like I felt like it just flew by. That means you need more information, more context, or it felt like a series of events and not necessarily characters going through it. So then you'd say to yourself, well, 6 people said that out of 10, so that's something I should look into. But if one person's like, this character's terrible, like nothing about them is worth, I just don't like them, and every time they're on the page, I just get the ick. You could put the note down in your sheet just so you have it, but you don't. 1 out of 10, you don't really have to pay attention to it. That's the rule. So the process is ultimately take the feedback, put it into a note sheet, then take those notes and go 1 chapter at a time, especially if a chapter is needed, and that becomes ultimately your third draft. After that, I do one more big read. And I take my own personal notes at that point. Now, you might be saying, Thomas, wouldn't beta readers start the big change? No. If you look at my list, I have alpha readers read before my first draft even touches the page. All right. What I do is I take the zero draft, okay? And after the zero draft, I'm going to go through and I'm going to look at notes. I'm going to read what I like and don't like. I'm going to make sure things are connected. I'm going to make sure that elements are there. Did I seed enough, etc., etc., etc. Once I do that, then I will send the zero draft, okay? And this is the important part. I may start writing quote unquote prose for the zero draft, but it's not meant to be pretty. I don't want to distract from what the plot is. All right. So I might not use lyrical writing, but I might write more like, Laura. Well, in this case, it's supposed to be first person, but be like, I ran through the prison trying to avoid the guards. Like, it might still be generalized because I want the alpha betas specifically to understand what is happening foundationally. At that point, they're going to give me notes, and I'm going to take that, and I'm going to go through and clean up the zero draft, and then I will start writing out my prose. So why do I do that? Because at that point, I know for a fact that the outline works, the plot works, which means I can play with adding all the prettiness. I could add lyrical points. I can start playing around with character, which is story. That's why you need beta readers, right? It's their experience reading the story part. You know that it all makes, it all fits together. So now you get to kind of build on that and allow characters to make choices, have, maybe little asides to the plot because you know that the plot's going to happen how it's supposed to happen. So things like that. So I hope that helps. But I will be going over, when we get to the beta reader section, I will be going over that in greater detail. In greater detail. Could I separate my chapters in their own files in Google Docs so I could keep an eye on my word count for that chapter? Yeah, the way you do that is you just make a file for each chapter. That's what I do. Some people do a thing where, is this it? Yeah, you could do tab. You could create like chapter tabs. That's what some people do. I personally just make a file for each thing. And the reason is it just gives me a little bit more control. Are there specific questions to be asking your beta readers? Yes. Now, obviously, I said I have alpha readers and there are beta readers. Alpha readers, I'm not going to go into the questions for alpha readers, but alpha readers are functionality. Beta readers are experience. And what that means is their reading experience. You're not asking a beta reader if, like, the character arcs are paying off, if you're not asking them like what is the pace of the overall narrative, though you can. But again, alpha readers are the people you're asking who are writers. Beta readers are people who read in your genre. All right. So the kind of questions you want to be asking your beta reader though is, you don't want to be directing them. Like, what did you think about when character B lost his hand in the fight? Like, you don't want to lead them like that. You want to allow them to have general answers to it, but also to be specific enough where it's doing something for you and it's not broad in general. And then also you don't want them to feel like they have to. So a bad question would be like, what didn't you like? Because now they might be reading going, what didn't I like? And they'll look for things they don't like. So the real good questions are, let me see. Let me go to my question list because I have beta reader questions. Do I have that in the sheet, the folder? Could have swore I had something like that. Well, I guess I don't. I might clean up my beta reader thing and put it in the folder for people to download. I just know that I'll probably work on that. Let's see. Give me a second. I got really questions that I've developed over the years. Readers, beta readers. Okay, here we go. All my questions. All right. So a real fun question is, I'll put it on the screen. I'll put some stuff on the screen for you. Can you see that? Okay. Okay. In general, where do you feel the story is going? Why is this a good beta reader question? Because you want to A, see if you are seeding enough information where they have an idea where it's going, but also B, they're not so far off, you know that something is not contributing to the read. So, for example, if the story is supposed to go to where, like, I don't know, a character becomes the queen, and they're like, oh, this character is gonna, end up becoming the leader of the Thieves Guild. Like, clearly lost in translation. But it's nice to know if they have a general idea of where it's going. So they might say, oh, like my feeling is they're going to go here, here, and here. And you know what? They might be answering questions to the red herrings you're leaving. So that's a good question for them. This doesn't make them lean left or right. It makes them think about what they are reading. Let's see, another one. This is actually a fun question. If you're using a reader to know what do you feel you learned, I would take away, if you don't want, because sometimes when I send a book, I'll send they don't know it's a section, but I'll be like, I'll send section 1, and that's whatever, maybe 7 chapters long. But what you could do is you could send this as a question after you finish sending them all the chapters to Act 1. Let's see. This one is okay. This one has so do you like the direction the story is going? All right. So that's engagement. That's an engagement question. This is their experience. Do they enjoy? Yeah, I actually do. I like seeing where it could be going. I like what is happening. I like that you subverted some expectations, right? What's another good one? Oh, I have questions like this. Which character would you most want to invite to a dinner party, and why? The reason I have that is because you want to also give them a chance to have fun with it. But this tells you a little bit about your characters without asking the reader about the characters. So which character would you most want to invite to a dinner party, and why lets them talk about stuff the character brings to the dinner table. But it's, instead of asking them, who is this character, or what character do you like and why, this reframes the way they approach the question, and now they're thinking about an experience they want to have and who they want to get to learn and get to know about. So it might end up not even being your protagonist, but the point is, questions like this really help drive more engagement with not only the answer question element of it, but you're pulling out the engagement elements. This character is actually interesting to them because they have this kind of thought to it. What else? I don't want to give you too many because we could be here all day, but I have like hundreds of questions. By the way, I don't send hundreds of questions. I tailor the questions to the beta readers based on who they are, what genre they normally read. Sometimes I'll actually give, like, if I have 6 beta readers, I will give 3 beta readers a group of questions, and then the other 3 a different group of questions, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. Let's see. All right. Well, those are a couple questions. I have. Here's some book ending questions. So, like, when they're done with the book, I'll ask some questions about the book in general. And let's see. Oh. So one of them I have is, did the book end like you wanted? I just thought it would. So those are the kind of things you want to ask. I think those are good enough for now. But if you notice, the questions they try to frame it in the experience of the reader, and a really good tell on if it's a positive question is, what do you think about when you read somebody else's book? Like if you're reading a book, what kind of thoughts are you having while reading that book? What are the things you're paying attention to? And honestly, most of the time, those are what other people are thinking about too. And so you have to say, all right, these are the things I thought about while reading a Stephen King book, or whatever, a George Martin book, or Lord of the Rings, and then you try to say, all right, what kind of questions I want. So put that into the framing of your own book as well. Okay. Let's talk about the poll. The poll. Boo 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 boo. What helps you write your flow? We have daily word count goal, 11%. Excellent. Working through my outline, 78%. I'm also there. Strong character voice, 11%. Sometimes just getting back to those characters and just being like, oh, I love writing. There are certain characters that when I write them, I don't have to think. Those characters are they're so alive and so dimensional that, like, I just love getting them into scenes wherever I can. And world building, seeing the world, the new world. Interesting, about 0% for new world. Remember, world building is an essential part of the narrative. It's plot forward, character development, and world building. To make your world feel lived in gives purpose to the character's existence in a sense of like imagine you're a detective, but then you find out you're a detective in a sci-fi world. The more we understand about that sci-fi world, the more it relates to how the detective thinks and moves and makes choices. Same thing with plot. World building influences your plot because it's the culture or the history of that world, or the way the politics work, or the way authority works, or the way, like, all those things are very much important. So I know it's 0%, but allow yourself to really consider the importance of world building. But I do love that we have working through my outline. Just so I understand everybody's on the same page. When I talk about working out through your outline, the reason I put that on there is that, like, the more we get through it, the more as we like we're doing with what we're doing right now, where ultimately we just went through 10 chapters, 10 plot points. We're now in Act 2. Like, that gets me excited to get back to writing. Like, that motivates me, and helps me with the flow, because I can just look at the outline and I can just write out what I have to write out. So if it's a zero draft or it's a draft in itself, first draft, just going through each plot point, each chapter, each scene, that really does motivate me. That's a really great question. A great answer that everyone just popped onto. Daily word count goal. That is really good too. I know that when I started writing, that was actually a deterrent for me. Originally. Because I was like, I got to write 500 to 1,000 words today. And then I realized, no, I don't. I just got to write whatever I write, 200, 300. When you're at if you're in like at a table, like if you're whatchamacallit? Why can't I think of the word? Whatever. When you're in the room writing, like for TV or film or anything like that, it's not how many words did you write today. It's how many pages, right? But at the same time, they don't really ask you daily. They go, look, I need this by Thursday the 7th. And then it's your job to be like, all right, let me get it in by the 7th. So they really mostly ask, is it done? Will we see it tomorrow? Is it done? Did you get it done? Daily word count is great to make it into a habit. I agree that if having a word count creates the habit of writing, perfect. I personally, I've said it millions of times on this channel. That's a hyperbole. But I like to just write within my writer's block. I get 2 60-minute blocks, so ultimately 2 hours. And whether I write 20 words or 1,000 words, as long as I'm working on the book in some way or another, because sometimes you're not writing. Sometimes you're outlining. Sometimes you're editing. Sometimes you're thinking. Sometimes you're brainstorming. Sometimes you're reading to make sense of things. So that's why I try to avoid the word count thing nowadays. But I do think it is nice to see the word count go. So that's always a healthy part. But if it helps you, that's a really important. That's the important factor. If it helps you, that's something you should be. About the poll, I wished that I could have done all of them. I just can't do a messy draft where I like to explain every detail. I like to explain every detail. Well, we'll say that you did all of them. And those are still choices that you got to make, right? The strong character voice, though. That's... Depending on who the character is, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I got to get there. When I was working on The Circle, there were a couple characters where I just wanted to write those characters. They're just really fun. Anyway. What do we got here? More thunder and lightning today. The air is growling for the last half hour. Friday, 2 hours of thunder. Sheet lightning, fork lightning, cloud to cloud, fork lightning. Looked like daylight at 11 p.m. More on Saturday. And then, no. I thought I was reading a prose. Wow. Yeah, but you know what thunder and lightning means? It just means you can relax at home, maybe get the fireplace going, get some nuts cocoa, maybe some marshmallows, relax a little bit, maybe a little bit of pie. Give yourself a little pie, get some pie. If you're Italiano, you could eat your tiramisu. You got to eat your tiramisu. All right. I think this is a document that you don't have on your downloaded list. Thomas, I don't recognize the number 6 point you have. Are you talking about this? The Thomas J. Bellezza writing process? Organized plot points? Is this what you're talking about? Let's see. There you go. It's in there. It's just, it's inside the Write With Me folder. Because I have a folder on it that says Write With Me. You can just click there. Boom. Download it and have fun. All right. I have created magical spinning wheel captures for my story. Magical spinning wheel. Oh, creatures. I'm sorry. That was my dyslexia. Creatures for my story. Nice. Spinning wheels. Can't go wrong with spinning wheels, then a magic. That's interesting and unique. I do lots of 20 words with tons of thinking in between. I might be finished when I read. You know what? If that's what you got to do, you got to do. I was actually just talking to Emma, the lovely Emma who cooks and teases me with her foods, and we were just talking about word count and everything. When it came to this book, when it came to writing this book right here, I was flying through it. I wrote all 5 books in a couple months. I could write up to 3,000 words in a sitting. The reason I did that is because I would do a half hour, right? And then I would take a break, watch an episode of something, or maybe eat or relax. And then I'd do another half hour, and then I'd take a break, right? And I just flew through it. I wrote all 5 of the books in that series in one sitting. And she was like, wow, that's a lot. And I was like, oh, it's nonfiction. It's stuff that I taught. It's stuff that I consulted on. It's stuff that I spoke at colleges or schools or wherever. This is stuff that I know backwards and forwards. So it's just a matter of just getting it out and organizing it. And I was like, but when I write fantasy, if I could get 1,000 words out in a sitting, that's a lot for me. So everything kind of sets you up for whatever it is you're gonna do. So you got to find what works for you and adjust where you feel you need to adjust. But ultimately, definitely, without a doubt, not that you're doing it, but don't ever worry about judging yourself against how much you're writing versus somebody else. You got this. You got this, Em. Just wondering, I see a purple crown next to my name. What does that mean? It means that you are number 2 on the top fans for interaction and comments. Cindy's number 1. Hello, Cindy. I'll be there waiting for you, Em. I'll be your ghostwriter. Literally your ghostwriter. I watch TV wow, and in between writing, it's like part of my brain is concentrating on the program and parts. That's interesting you do that. I used to listen to music while I wrote. Now I need everything off. My father once said, he's like, why do you listen to music when you're working and everything? I go, I don't know. I like to distract it because that's how I learn. Like I learn by, I'll listen to audiobooks or I'll listen to some like television or something, and I'll work on whatever, networking or marketing, whatever. And for some reason I could learn quicker that way. But he was like, but you always look frustrated when you're like working, like when you're writing and stuff. And I was like, yeah, because I'm trying to get through stuff. He's like, just shut the music off. And I was like, I don't know. And then one day I did, and I was like, whoa. And I was like, when people hear me typing, they're just like, what do you do? It's just, and but anyway, but yeah, no, definitely. Some people have that. It's gonna sound. This is not a negative, but it's a learning disability. Like I have a learning disability, and it. For some reason, when you distract your brain with other, elements, other, whatchamacallit, input, it actually helps another part of the brain work. So it definitely makes sense to be able to do that. Same here, flowers. I need the television on. So I will usually write from 1 to 5. Hey! Now, do you write straight through that 1 to 5, though? Or are you, like, writing a little bit, and then you're like, hey, there's the television, writing a little bit. Hey, there's the Care Bears, writing a little bit, you know? But I'm not obviously writing. Oh, you answered my question. Ignore me. Yeah. Cindy. But I cannot listen to music and write. Yeah, because music, you just start hearing the time. All I hear when I listen to music, I'm hearing drums, guitar, bass, piano if it's there, singers. I'm listening to, like, is the song working? Like my music brain from that life is just working overtime. And I'm just like, I gotta shut that off. I do music too. Do you wear a condom when you do music? Okay, anyway. I have... Do you? I have rewritten chapter 1 with words so far. Not bad, Hannah Hot. Keep it up, keep it going. Sporadic viewing and writing. Tip, right. Tip. Do those sound effects go on when you're doing it too? Like, hey. Must watch the silly walks. Because you already know those words. Yes, I think you're referring to the nonfiction. Yeah, it's just... That's me all the time, but I also tend to think about my other stories that will be continuing with my book. Yeah, that happens with writers. We always fall into that, like, I should be working on another book brain. Been there, am there, do it all the time. I have so many books that I'm working on. But what's nice is I like to do like an outline. If I could just get the outlines done, then I feel like I can be like, all right, the book can wait for me now. And then I sort of go back to what I was working on. My typing isn't... It's more like bloop, 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 bloop. Pip, pip, pip. Bloopity, bloop, bloop, bloop. Bloop, 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 bloop. I wrote several scenes on backstory. Most likely won't make it to the book, but if I post on Substack, they will. But it helped set my mind and engage me. Yeah, no, that's a great method. Especially if you're hitting writer's block. You could just work on stuff that doesn't have to do with your book, in the sense of like this won't be in it, but working on backstory. Even as an actor, they tell you work on backstory on characters, and then you basically just toss it out. It doesn't get into the movie or the show or whatever you're working on or the play, but it does help. And I think that also applies to writing. It helps you understand who your characters are. I also wrote the last few chapters of my book last night. Congratulations, Hannah. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, you're going the distance. You're going for speed. Yeah. Congratulations, Hannah. Everybody, Hannah has written the last few chapters of a book last night. Congratulations. Yeah. I don't allow myself to think of other stories. Are you one of those like people that like, whoosh, I thought of a story? Because I do that sometimes. I make sure the cat scratches me. Cat scratch fever. As soon as I feel myself drifting towards other story, I have a word. You have to be disciplined. I tell myself, you're not going to get ice cream later if you don't focus, mister. That's the secret. Is it bragging if I say I wrote 150K during my first NaNoWriMo month, and that was over 7 days of nights at work? The person I gave the extremely rough draft to said he liked it. I don't know if it's bragging. I think it's congratulations. You know, it's good to get that out. If that's your speed, it's your speed, right? So, but what is that? What is that? How do we look at that? What is that? What is that? 150,000 words divided by, what'd you say, 7? That's you wrote 21,000 words a day? Cindy, I just want you to know, I need your skill. I need you to teach me what you did for that, because that's fantastic in a sense. However, did you get any sleep? Sweet. But they're very short chapters. Yeah, that's okay. Chapter lengths are not the only requirement of a true chapter is, does it have a clear beginning, middle, and end? Does it set up the context of the chapter? Does it have a conflict or problem within that chapter? And does it resolve that chapter? But also, you want it to be connected to the greater narrative and other elements of that factor. Why wouldn't it be, Hannah? It's your story, and I've heard authors say they're lucky if out of 4 hours they actually write 30 minutes. For sure. I want to write a full book. I'm not really a NaNoWriMo person. Can someone tell me what the fun of it is? I'm not knocking it or anything. I'm just trying to understand the process of it. I'm really interested because a lot of people do like to do the NaNoWriMo. What was your job? Writing. I know you're not asking me. You're asking. Yeah. Isn't it? No, Cindy, you work at Don't you work? You work in the for the people, the old people, not retirement, but the aftercare or something like that. You need more caffeine. You always need more caffeine when you're writing. Night shift as a nurse, I hardly had time to pee. Right? I've never done the nano. I don't know. This would be my first time participating. Well, please let us know if you like it and if it's really your thing. I was reading that they're okay with people writing with AI, and I think that became a big contention. Which is all to say. Yes, but I do have it, and it's up on the downloads. Yeah, kicking butt. On the weekends, after I read my Bible, I start writing on my story. There's no more NaNoWriMo. They're supporting. Yeah, that's what I was reading. They're supporting the AI now. So a lot of people were like, stay away from that. I have this idea for a book that I've been keeping for now. Why keeping it for the NaNoWriMo? Again, this is just a curiosity. That is all, not a judgment. I'm just curious. Why keep it for the NaNoWriMo instead of just writing the book? Do. All right. What else we got? Anything? Let's see. Let's talk through the things because we're getting close. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. I actually like using this. This is a new little thing I got here. Boop. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Yeah. Oh, what do we got? Cause it's third on my list, so I have to finish one book beforehand. That's fair. That is fair. You gotta do whatever works for you. You know, that's the rule. Other authors like Sarah Cannon isn't doing it anymore, for she's doing her own version called The Rough Draft Challenge. I hear there's a couple people doing different variations of the NaNoWriMo. It's interesting. I guess it's just to keep people writing. You should come to When Worlds Collide in Calgary one year. Ooh, When Worlds Collide. What is that? Let me look that up. When words. See? Dyslexia. When words collide in Calgary. Oh, look at that. It's in August, though. So I'm definitely going to miss that. But I'm going to put this in the research pile. Go through writers, writing class events, authors, author stuff. It is officially in my to check out list. Thank you for that. I did not know that existed. Calgary! You can't go wrong with Calgary. Isn't that far from me, though? Isn't Calgary like... Where is Calgary? Isn't that in another country? Calgary. Oh, no, it's Canada. That is another country. I've been to Canada. I could go to Canada. I got a lot of friends up in Canada, too. Or just do the month for yourself. Oh, do the month for yourself. Any month for sure. Sometimes when I feel like I haven't really written a lot, I'll do that. I'll do like a focus month where I'm just like every night is just 2 hours of writing. But I've also learned like a little this, a little that, little that, little this. Like everything sort of comes together. Nicey. You can come and then stay until the weekend in August. Yeah! You're going to feed me ice cream, aren't you? You are going to give me ice cream. You're going to give me a little, the man belly, which is whatever. I'm 47. I can handle it. You know, I got a dad bod. I'm not a dad, but I got a dad bod. I'm okay with that. Stay at my house. I have someone I think you would like to meet. He reminds me of you. Does he randomly sing like that? I'm always happy to meet new people. Now, does he have a beard? Because I know sometimes when new beards meet each other, the beards kind of like are like, hey, beard, you know, and then we have to sit there and just let the beards talk while we just, you know, are just really just the passenger. I do that challenge, but I just can't keep up with it for my full-time job as a custodian for my company called Tessararara, a.k.a. Skookum. Skookum. That's a great name. Skookum. Tessera. Does Tessera have anything to do with like nature, Earth, or like the ecosystem? Because, you know, closely related to the name of Earth. What do you do, Hannah? The name of the company sounds fun. It does sound fun, right? Is it Jack Black? It's, yeah, I don't know. You're talking to the other people. All right. Okay, I feel good. We did good. Let's do the rest of this stuff. Remember, makearightlefthehere.com. If you haven't done so already, like I said earlier, the book is available on the Amazon. You could go right to the makearightlefthehere.com if you're interested in getting it. By the way, if you're not interested in getting it because money is tight or whatever, the ebook is free for the whatchamacallits, the Amazon thing. The Amazon what the hell is going on? Unlimited. Amazon Unlimited book. Why can't my thing go? Oh, Kindle Unlimited. There we go. Jesus, so it's available for Kindle Unlimited. Thank you, mister. No, it's with people that have disabilities. Oh, interesting. And it's good that you're working with those people. Yeah, so if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can do it that way. But more importantly, and this is really the secret sauce to it all. If you don't want to buy it, if you don't have the money, you don't have to. I tell you, there's no pressure. But you can share it, maybe send it to people you think might benefit from a book that helps you learn how to be successful in the creative fields. It's all about the creative fields and how to be successful because I was in the film, television. I was in the music industry. I was in the comedy world. I do all those things. So even just the love of the share. Like my family, they reached out to me. They're like, look, we're not going to buy it because, and I was like, you don't have to, your family, whatever. And they're like, but we will share it. And they've been sharing it and doing really nice. One of my cousins bought it, and I was happily enthused by the love and support. And then I got to see my aunt hold it, and my aunt is my father's sister, and my father passed away, so it was nice that she got to hold it. It was all very, very, very. But anyway, there is that. So I'm just saying, bloop, 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 bloop. I fell into that too, Hannah, the other book I've written. The opening line for that book to start in the one I'm working on now. Ooh, yes. Oh, what's this? There's also my coworkers. There's groundspeople, food service, and custodians. They all have a little bit of something to do. You have a brain like my yes. My brain just goes. I am so filled. Like I have somebody who's going to school for like cellular biology or cellular molecular biology, whatever. And they started like, hey, did you know XYZ? And then I would explain. I'd be like, oh yeah, because of blah 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 blah. And they're like, how do you know that? Why do you know that? And I go, I don't know. I either heard it, read it, or somebody said it, and my brain just absorbs it. But like when I want the information, unless it's attached to my autism that somebody triggers my brain to go into this world, I'm like, I can't remember a stupid little word. I've written short stories to get them out of my head. Otherwise, they don't leave me alone. Yeah, they just fight and play. They're like, hey. Oh, man. It's almost 4 o'clock, everybody. It's almost 4 o'clock. Do we have anything else? Do I have anything else? What do I got? We got to do a little bit of Man of War. Okay. I've been writing stories since high school, but they were more of fanfic stories. Yeah, fanfic, I get it. I was told to write fanfic when I was younger, but I never, like, what do you take Harry Potter and Hermione and make them end up together and push Ron over the cliff? I don't know. I never was like, what do I do? Sort of like when I was in the music, they were like, hey, let's learn covers, and I'm like, I just don't want to, like, why do I want to play someone else's music? I did learn covers, but I rewrote them in my style, and like that was interesting to me. But I do find fanfic interesting in the sense of like as an exercise. You leave their oil alone. They're Man of War, man. But I do know like a lot of writers, especially for screenplays, they got into the industry through spec scripts. But let's be honest, it wasn't the spec script alone. It was they knew somebody, and like a friend was like, "Yeah, I'll absolutely hand this to somebody." Like when I had a show called Laundry that was being pursued by MGM for a very short time, and that was a direct connection between what I would consider one of my best friends, who was like basically like a brother to me, knew somebody that was working with MGM, and they were looking for something that ended up being a show that I was working on. They were like, we wish we had a show like this, and it was exactly what I was working on, and that was a hand in. So, yeah, spec script works, but there's always more to the eye. There's more to meets the eye. Okay. Even though I'm writing on my retelling, I also have my own fanfic of Yu-Gi-Oh! With me as myself, and I'm in Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe with my Yu-Gi-Oh! Crush, Mariki. Very interesting. Hey, as long as you could have fun in that world, that's all that matters, And that's the brilliant thing about writing. You can do and work on whatever you want, and no one can stop you. Just have fun with it. It's your creative outlet. It's for you. It's the world you live in. It's a challenge to write 50K in the month of November. I didn't do it last year when I heard the controversy in AI and the issue with predators. Yes, that is the part. That was the other thing. NaNoWriMo. I feel like some audio may be a little far behind with all that stuff. But yes, you're referring to did you write in the NaNoWriMo, and what was your experience with it? Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything negative about nano. I don't involve. I've never really participated, but I do hear a lot of controversy with it, and there's a lot of the conversation with the audience out there is that not really their bag, and that's fine. You know, like I think that's important. Like if we don't, what's the thing like for example, like what's his name, Kevin Spacey, right? He was acquitted of all charges, but you know, his actions and behaviors and the potential of what he did or the truth of what he did or whatever the case is, you know, it obviously destroyed his brand in a very big way, and well, it should. But you know, like people were like, he shouldn't work, and I was like, well, it's not that he shouldn't work. It's like people should be able to choose if they want to work with him. But then it's your choice as a consumer to say, I'm not going to support that. And if enough people don't support something, then the people won't hire them. You know, but they should still have the option. But it's our job to be like, nope, not interested. And that's the social the social contract we have with people. We go, just because you are doing something doesn't mean we have to support it. You know, there's movies and stuff that come out where it's like, you know, maybe we're not interested in the message or whatever. And that is your prerogative, as Bobby Brown would say. It's my prerogative. You know, anyway. All right. We did good today. Is it me or it's getting hot? It's hot, right? It's hot. I'm getting a little hot. Also, the stocks are up, just as a little aside. All right. Everybody out there, thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate it. Again, much love. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the subscribes. Thanks for the watching. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the interaction. Thanks for sharing your literal story ideas and your concepts and just being a part of the conversation. As we can see, you know, if we look at the top fan, look at everybody's on the list for the fans, right? We got M got top number 1, and then we got Flowers, Cindy coming in at number 3, Hannah Hart's up there, Angel left, hello, see you later, Afghani, look at you, number 6, come on, Afki, come on, number 6, I thought you'd be a little higher. We got a couple people up there, we got some first-time speakers too, and it was really nice to see the interaction. With that said, oh, what is this? Boo. When Worlds Collides is a lot of fun. You could be a speaker. Yeah, I saw that they have those opportunities. I am definitely going to look into When Worlds Collide for next year for sure. I will be doing some research on that later this week. I also have a favorite cartoon called Winx Club, and everyone is saying it's an AI generated, and it's upsetting me. Oh, the cartoon itself is AI generated. Yeah, I guess that could be upsetting, especially if you like something. Because you're like, oh man, I put a lot of time and interest into that, and I was connected to it emotionally, and then boom. I could see why that feels that way. It's that Manowar hot stuff getting I can't take it, the oil. The system is rigged. It might be. It's a reboot as well. It's the world we live in, right? The world we live in. He looks just like you, but younger. All right, so the video is definitely behind for some people. I think you're saying that to do we look alike for your friend. All right, everybody. So listen, I think it's time. It's time to go. It's time to say goodbye. Everybody, much love to you. I'm Thomas J. Bellezza. And I have to turn the AC back on. And cool my shorts. Anyway, as always, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. Bye.